XRP is sitting on a launchpad right now, but the ignition key is missing. The question is, who's brave enough to flip the switch? All right, picture this. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm standing in the doorway between the kitchen and my living room, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. Wiping sleep out of my eyes with a sleeve like a half-functional crypto zombie. I refresh the chart, and that green candle for XRP flickers up to $2.27, 5% overnight. It's not bad, and it's not a bad way to kind of start the day, right? But here's the crazy bit, right? For 2 solid weeks, the thing has been trapped in a little $2 to $2.29 cage, right? Like a greyhound vibrating behind the gate, but never, quit hearing that starting pistol, right? And while the rest of the market's been kind of throwing a champagne party, Bitcoin's back at 95 grand, Ethereum is flexing its muscles, XRP's been kind of pacing. That's the story that we're digging into today. Why XRP is acting like a coiled spring. Why analysts all over crypto Twitter are whispering, this could be it. And what needs to happen before that spring explodes. Now, I'm going to share the exact levels that we're watching, the sneaky little technical patterns that nobody is talking about, and how some folk are already eyeing a price tag that starts with a 5 or even a double-digit 10. Now, before the summer, of course, sun even melts our brains. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where the tripwires are, and why the next few candles could be the biggest of the year. So let me set the scene. Last night, Bitcoin kind of strutted back to 95 grand like a teenager finally admitted into the VIP lounge. And the rest of the market kind of threw confetti. Solana, tried on a new hat, meme coins kind of barked for attention, and even the sleepy DeFi tokens got a caffeine shot. XRP, though, it kept doing that slow kind of sidestep dance between $2 and, $2.29. Now, on paper, that's perfectly fine. It's up from 400% since November, but traders are impatient creatures, right? We see a range that's tight and our inner kind of gambler starts screaming, something is about to snap. Enter analyst 𝗕𝗓𝗓. If you hunt Crypto X, you've probably seen his heat map masterpieces. Now, he dropped a 3-day candle chart that looks like a descending triangle Picasso painted after discovering TradingView. Lower highs, flat support, classic bearish continuation, until bam, the latest candle leaks, above that downtrend line like soda fizz out of a shaken can. So that kind of pattern, it makes chart nerds spill their coffee, because an upside break from a descending triangle is rarer than a unicorn in a tuxedo. It kind of hints that sellers are exhausted, the buyers are sneaking in, and the whole structure is about to tip. But there's a catch, and it's glaring. Volume, or rather the absence of it. Now, volume is the rocket fuel, right? Price action is the shiny rocket shell. No fuel, no fireworks, right? Since XRP's January sprint to $3, trading activity has kind of shriveled up. Now, order books are thin. Analyst Dom joked that if one whale sneezes, well, that we're at kind of, 240 in an instant. Now, it's funny, but also very terrifying if you're on the wrong side of that sneeze. Thin liquidity, it kind of means breakouts can surge savagely or fizzle out just as fast. Okay, so let me get a little nerdy, but keep it digestible, right? The 50-day exponential moving average on the 3-day chart. So think of this as the market's kind of favorite trampoline, right? And how it's gone flat and kind of parked itself right under the current price. Right? Every time the XRP dips towards that zone, buyers jump in with a not today and bounce it back. Meanwhile, the RSI is chilling around 50, smack in the middle of that seesaw, not overheated, not ice cold, just waiting for someone to pick a side and to push. Now, here is where the story gets spicy, right? World of Charts, the name alone kind of sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. He tweeted that XRP could tag $5 in the coming weeks. His logic? Deja vu. Now, last November, the coin rocketed from 49 cents to $2.50 faster than you could Google, is XRP pumping? Now, he sees the same coiled energy right now. Then along struts X-Force Global. Why stop at $5 when 10 is prettier? And I love that kind of swagger, right? He's basically daring the market to dream even bigger. And honestly, with Bitcoin flirting with six figures, nothing feels impossible, right? We're in the blockbuster phase right now, where gravity takes a day off and the hero jumps a kind of motorcycle between skyscrapers because, well, cinema. Still, talk is cheap. Candles, they cost money. So how do we know that buyers are actually clocking in? Well, clue number one, 230. Right, tattoo that level on the inside of your eyelids. Right, every time that price presses that ceiling and volume kind of flickers higher, alarms should blare. Then you've got clue two, broader kind of sentiment. Right, if Bitcoin keeps moonwalking past psychological milestones, altcoins usually sprint to keep up like toddlers chasing a balloon. Then you've got clue three, the funding rates. If perpetual futures kind of swap flips, decisively positive, the FOMO crowd is going to be paying through the nose to stay long. Now that's both rocket fuel and a potential spark for liquidations, kind of wicks if they get spooked. Okay, so quick story break. Back in January, during that $3 sprint, I was stuck in an airport security, barefoot, belt off, laptop sliding down the tray when my phone buzzed. XRP up 20% in 30 minutes. I nearly kind of face planted, grabbed it, and by the time I had made it to the gate, it had already added another 30%. And people thought I was kind of practicing Tai Chi the way that I kept waving my arms. Now, I vowed right there and then, never again will life-changing candles fly overhead while I'm hugging a neck pillow. Now, I use price alerts religiously, right? If you haven't set yours, do it after this video, trust me. And look, right, if you need a tribe to celebrate or commiserate with, right, hop into our free crypto Discord. There's a link in the description down below, right? We've got a panic or party kind of voice channel that kind of lights up the second that something insane happens. It's kind of like trading an old school pit floor, minus kind of the paper cuts and questionable smells. Okay, back to business. Macro tailwinds matter, right? The Fed's hinting at rate hike pauses, institutional crash keeps kind of tiptoeing into ETFs, and mainstream anchors can finally say crypto without throwing it in the Ponzi scheme pile. Now, when the tide rises, even kind of stubborn boats kind of float, right? Now, XRP often kind of lags Bitcoin's moves by a few beats, but when it catches up, it sprints, not jogs. So think late 2017, right? Bitcoin kind of peaked in December, XRP exploded in January. Different cycle, same psychology. Okay, potential potholes. Yeah, they exist, right? One, regulatory fog, right? The SEC's courtroom saga still kind of rumbles like distant thunder. Two, you've got early investor supply unlocks that could spike volatility at awkward moments. Three, you've got psychological baggage, right? Bag holders from 2021 who bought at $3, I should say 2017, 2018, it bought at $3. And maybe there are people who are also buying at around $1.90 in 2021. They may dump as soon as they hit break even. Ignoring these would be like driving a Ferrari blindfolded, right? But they're also the kind of boogeyman that keeps price suppressed until suddenly the lights flip on and they completely vanish. So let's sketch the game plan, right? If you're gusty, you might ladder buy around the kind of 50 EMA, right? Roughly 210 or 215, right? Banking on that trampoline bouncing. Now, if you're cautious, maybe you wait for a decisive daily close above $2.30 with volume 3 times higher than the weekly average. Confirmation costs a little upside, but saves a kind of mountain of heartbreak. And if you prefer a kind of the bleachers, fine, right? Set an alert for $5, pop the popcorn and enjoy the fireworks, right? There's zero shame in watching the parade instead of actually marching it. Okay, on-chain tea leaves, right? Wallets holding 1 to 10 million XRP are quietly accumulating again. Right? These mid-sized whales are the smart, quiet kids, that speak rarely, but it matters. Historically, their accumulation precedes violent upsides, right? Combine that with the flat 50 EMA and a neutral RSI, and the market is poised for a sprinter crouched at the blocks, muscles tense, but nowhere near exhausted. Social sentiment is also perking up, right? Google searches for buy XRP jumped 38% this week. Retail mania, not yet, right? The telltale kind of phrase of how to buy Ripple coin is still kind of lukewarm, but curiosity is bubbling. And crypto moves when curiosity morphs into conviction and conviction matures into urgency, right? Volume is just the psychological chain reaction turned into numbers. So imagine a concert, right? The lights dim, the crowd hushes, and the taste of anticipation, you can taste it. That's XRP right now, right? Guitars are tuned, amps are humming, drummers twirling sticks. The missing piece is the roar, the trading volume. Now, the second that hits, price becomes the band's opening chord, shaking the entire stadium. We're near the climax now, right? So let's daydream the breakout, right? It's Tuesday afternoon. Prices kind of tap 230, a hidden iceberg buy soaks up every cell like a black hole. Volume pulses the calm blue to kind of raging neon green, right? Twitter melts hashtags, right? XRP Moon and Ripple Run crack to the top 5, right? Shorts scramble, liquidations pop, 240 is sliced like warm butter. 10 minutes later, we're printing 265. An hour later, it's 280. Commentators who mocked XRP all year suddenly quote Fibonacci extensions like gospel. Now that flip, right, from disbelief to acceptance is the ignition, right? Once the crowd believes new heights are on the table, the psychological pivots from sell the rip to buy every dip, right? $5 stops being a meme and starts feeling inevitable. And if we can catch the perfect storm, ETF whispers, cross-border remittances, headlines, maybe a celebrity endorsement, well, $10 is not just a fairy tale. It's a stretch goal on the company whiteboard. Okay, let's land this plane. Right, we started, blurry-eyed with a modest green candle, mapped the technical terrain, right? Descending triangle escape, trampoline EMA, neutral RSI, then confronted the fuel problem, right? The thin volume, the thin books, but curiosity ready to ignite. We weighed the profits, from World of Charts, DOM, X-Force Global, seizing up to $5 to $10 kind of prophecies, right? We addressed real-world risks, regulation, supply unlocks, tried and tested kind of tired old bag holders. And we built a personal blueprint, alerts, laddered entries, or popcorn in the bleachers.